Would there were a tourniquet for time, a knot and squeeze to keep the clock from bleeding. I am made of minutes, and they spill from me as though there be no stoppage to the vein, nor to the vanity of mind till it be stopped. I hemorrhage memories, see them seep beyond what clotted recollection tries to keep. My soul is soaked and porous and assumes the anxiousness and agonies that fill these rooms. There is nothing on the nerve that is mine alone, but what I feel that feels like fear is the opiate of others in the atmosphere, an encumbering that only closing clears. Would there were a tourniquet for tears. And that is Wild Sonnet number 703, one of the newer poems that I've written, which will be published for the next book, volume 8, next year. I wanted to do something a little bit different for this reading. Usually I'm selecting 5 poems from the 7 Wild Sonnets books, but I wanted to choose 3 of the newer poems and present them in this series, at least for this episode. And so for the second poem that I'll be reading today is Wild Sonnet number 707. Never knew my name before the liturgy of light could verbal and visible praise the Sunday of my shape to this. I am sermon and someone, and from the simple and steeple-seated chapel of my days, the congregation will all rise to leave when the sad bell of ending begins to grieve. Never was my name before my mother's magic sang it into sound, her pregnant syllables conceiving with the varied voice of Sibyl what the world would say the second time it saw me. I know of nevers now, and of nevers again, and I know the miracles of always too. I know my name to some will always be new. And that is Wild Sonnet number 707. And for the third and final of the new poems that I'm reading in this episode, here is Wild Sonnet number 709. Sometimes it is belief and not the battle that must march into the field. Let the rough red of rust and not of blood assume what you must stand against. Time will do more damage than all the swords of Alexander's armies. To arrive at end of day, unconquered and unbent, is victory more than rage or regiment. Sometimes the body must believe that what it wants is real, must reach into the argument of empty to make it so. Skin warm to the touch, the tart and taste of apricots against the lips, the supple sway of music that is no less composed of air than wishing is, for what is not yet there. And that is Wild Sonnet number 709. I want to thank you so much for listening to these 3 new poems. As I've mentioned before, there are now 7 Wild Sonnets books that I have written and published since 2016. If you'd like to learn more about the books that have been published so far, please reach out at www.wildsonnets.com. I'll be back next week with another episode of the Wild Sonnets readings, and I'll be back to my previous format, 5 poems from the 7 books. Until then, stay wild and stay well.